Perfect. So you've literally just said there it's been a better week this week. So just what's it been like, the mood and everything this week?
The mood's been fine. It's just a better week, but then it couldn't get any more difficult than the last two we had, and disappointment with the injuries. But certainly a better week. And then regarding all the injuries, there'll be late decisions with them. That's where we are really.
And back to winning ways as well on Saturday. Just talk me through a little bit about that game.
I thought we played really well. All of a sudden when they go down to 10 men, they have nothing to lose, and it's very, very difficult against 10 men, especially when they go and get what we felt was like not a goal where they'd had like a lot of possession. We were actually in possession and in charge of the game. We give one ball away that we shouldn't have given away, and then from that they had 2 or 3 throw-ins and a corner and then scored from it. And I did feel last week, which is unlike an MK Dons team, and this is no shape or form having a go at them, but that was where I felt last week, maybe because our side shrunk a little bit, if you know what I mean, and we were 1 or 2 markers less, that I felt we could have been vulnerable last week. But that was the main worry for me. But other than that, I thought it was a really good win. I thought we played some really good controlled possession football, which is what I would like us to play. You can't play that all the time, but I was really, really pleased, and I had a bit of a warm feeling over the weekend, really, where I thought, I like that.
And afterwards you spoke about Luke Leahy, about just how much effort he put in, just putting himself on the line, and does he kind of epitomise what you just want from everyone and from the club?
I think really, as regards the effort, Luke never gave any more effort than any of the other lads. What he did do was he stuck his neck on the block with his injury. That was a little bit of the problem, He, it was tricky last week. He's better again. It's not back to perhaps where he would like it to be, and I think probably that fall on it at the end didn't help when he went to get that block on Will Grigg, I think it was. But it does sort of epitomise it. But then the others wouldn't be any different. But it's very, very difficult to get Dan Udoh back from a cruciate in 2 weeks, and George Nurse, who hasn't had his operation yet, back on the field. But Luke did play with quite a debilitating injury last week and done really, really well to get through the 90 minutes, and really, really important he did. After you go into a game and you never know what's going to happen, so having that change that we've got there, and flexibility in a few of the positions, we were almost, I don't want to say we were able to make the adjustment and it felt seamless, but it felt a little bit that way. There wasn't anyone playing anywhere, even though we had to make 4 or 5 positional changes that hadn't played where they'd played before. So, maybe sometimes now when you see a team sheet and someone's playing somewhere, it's because I'm trying to look at alternatives for if the worst happens, if you know what I mean.
And we speak every week about the players being versatile and stuff, and obviously when Matt Pennington had to go off, that then caused changes again. But like you said, it's seamless, and how much of that is just through practice and repetition and training here? Yeah,
a lot of it is through practice on the training ground, and then of course playing them in matches. So you can practice all you like, but if you're not experimental or bold enough, you're never going to find out. So there was a couple of times in pre-season I found out about a few things. There was a couple of times last year I found out about a couple of things. I think you're always learning, and that's the way I try and approach it, really. And it was really, really good. As I said before, we had a sort of a meeting on the touchline tactically about something that was going on in the game that we ended up putting a total block on that they were trying to do to us, which was great. But the good thing about it is, in the stoppage, the lads were going, well, I can go there and he can do this and I can do that, and I thought, that was brilliant. That they were coming over with suggestions, so they need to take a lot of credit for that as well, really, for how they dealt with that themselves.
And we mentioned Matt Pennington, obviously he went off in the first half. How's he doing?
Yeah, he's going to be like a late shout, Matthew. He's going to be a late shout. He's better, but it's going to be one of those, again, where we have to leave it up until the last minute, really.
And how much is it testament? Obviously, Rob Street came on and he impressed as well, from what I've heard as well.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, I just talked to him this morning. He had that one chance where he ran on the back of someone, took a great touch. But I think what he did, and I spoke to him about it this morning, is he ended up hitting the ball on the up. Well, if as he took his touch, the ball is always going to hit the ground. But then what's going to happen is it's going to hit the ground, but then it is going to come back up. So when you hit it on the up, and you hit it on the full a little bit, it's going to carry on going up. So you've got to try and hit it on the down. But what he didn't do was he probably didn't have time to hit it on the down. So he had a touch, then a bounce, but then he probably had to hit it because he didn't have time for it to come down for him to be able to hit it down. So I said to him there, he has to jump. He has to jump. So when he's got less time, he has to take his touch. The ball hits the ground. As it comes up, he has to jump and scissor kick it because he's got no time because the defender's going to be on him. So he has to do that all in one moment, bang, straight away, rather than wait for it to come up, to come down. Because how many times have we seen, and you'll see it every night of the week, you'll see it in the Premier League, you'll see it in the Champions League, where a ball's going to come down and the player's waiting for it to come down because he knows he's got to wait for it to come down, but then the defender gets a block in. And then everybody says in the crowd, oh, why didn't he hit it? Well, because he was waiting for it technically to come down. But what strikers have to do there is jump. So jump, you can't jump and then take it on the one foot, so you have to scissor kick movement. So as it's coming down and it's coming up, if he jumps and then he goes with that foot, but he strikes with that foot, he's going to keep on top of the ball then and get his laces on it. So I spoke to him about that this morning, and see if that chance ever comes again, whether he remembers that moment and sticks it in the back of the net. We haven't done any work like that, for instance, this week with him, but there'll be time in the future.
And how refreshing is it to have players, like you said, kind of take ownership of their role and have the opportunity and say, look, this is what I want to do?
Great, because a lot of times when you speak to groups of lads, what they don't often want to do is they don't often want to open their mouth for the fear of being wrong in front of their teammates. But that and that can happen because they might only have one picture that they've got in their head, and we do that a fair bit here, where we open up to them and say, so this is the scenario. What happens here? What happens here? We do that a lot in a lot of our meetings, a lot of our team meetings. What should we have done? What do you think they've done wrong here that we can capitalise on? So we're very open with that. We share that, and I think that's good for them because I think you've got to learn about the game. You have got to learn about the game, and I think that in the society that we're in now, you get less and less young kids out on the streets now, for the fear of it being too dangerous. Parents are worried what will happen with their children, if you know what I mean, which we all get. So therefore what they do is they have less learning time from, when I would grow up, you could play under a street lamp until 10 p.m. You know what I mean? That used to be the done thing when I was a kid. Kids don't get that these days, to get to play out in the street as much or over the field or whatever it is, a local park. So I think that, I think you have to coach them. And the good thing about it is they like it when they absorb the knowledge. I do think players want to be coached, and I do think they want to learn. I genuinely think that. Not every day, mind. Sometimes I detect sometimes when I'm talking to them, I know they're thinking, okay, Gaff, we've got the point. Let's move on now. So I get that with them, but I think it is important that they understand and learn, and a lot of them do. A lot of them do get good pictures, and they're a good group certainly to work with out on the training ground, and they're a good group to work with when you're working in the classroom with them.
And is that testament to the squad that you've got, that they're not afraid to stand up and say this, or afraid? A lot of people are afraid to make mistakes, but they're not. Yeah. They're not afraid to stand up and say, "This is what I think."
Yeah, it's not ever an argument or anything like that. It's never. It doesn't get to that stage. It's more like, I want you to tell me. Come on, tell me. I see what I'm thinking. I want you to tell me. Because if I'm going to go out and ask you to go and do something on the training field and then ask you to do something in a game, I want you to understand why you're doing it. Because then when you get it, it makes it more sellable to them rather than telling them, And don't just give them one option. Give them 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. You can't ever give them too many options because they'll remember one of them in that moment. That's all you need them to remember is one of them.
And Harry's coming in goal.
Yeah.
So how's he been? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he's done great. Really, really pleased with Harry. Really pleased with him. I think that he's come in and done a very good job. It's very, very difficult, as I said last week, to be a number 2 goalkeeper, which is what he's become, because Marco had become our number 1, and then all of a sudden to come out of the cold and then play. That's the idea of, the Papa John's games and things like that. So even though in them Papa John's games he would have had a young back 4 at times and he would have been worked, that's the idea of it, because if we'd have gone and won those Papa John's games 3 or 4-0, Harry wouldn't have seen the benefit. I'm not saying we want to lose them 3 or 4-0 either, but that's just going to happen. The young boys are going to make mistakes, and Harry, when he played in those games, he's going to be peppered more than normal. So maybe that's helped him. He made a couple of saves at Cheltenham. He was at fault for none of the goals at Cheltenham. He wasn't at fault for the goal at the weekend. So I think there's only been positives about Harry, really. Yeah, for sure.
Is it especially hard for a goalkeeper? Because you think with a striker or midfielder, they can come on and have 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there just to get that match fitness up. But I suppose as a goalkeeper, you can't just come on for 15 minutes. You're in and you're in.
Yeah, well, striker can make a mistake, can he?
Yeah.
Striker can make a mistake. He can kick the ball over the bar from 2 yards. He can do that. Goalkeeper can't make a mistake. Ends up in the back of your net. But I wouldn't want to be a goalkeeper. Never ever thought that'd be nice being a goalkeeper. Never really thought that. So yeah, they're a breed of their own, goalkeepers. They're all a little bit off the cuff, all a little bit crackers from time to time. But yeah, goalkeepers are just, I don't know. They're one of a kind, really, aren't they? They're very, very different to all the outfield players, even though they're becoming more and more like outfield players with the ability with the ball at their feet these days. But yeah, I mean, I think it's an extremely difficult position to be a goalkeeper.
Looking now to Saturday, Fleetwood away. Just thoughts going into that one, or people always say a tough place to go?
I don't know a place in this division where it's not a tough place to go. The league is very, very competitive. Fleetwood will be no different. Even though we played well and we won up there last year, it doesn't mean to say that that's the case. It's going to be a tough game. We know that, but one we're looking forward to, and one that we want to try and build on the back of our performance at the weekend, really.
Yeah, you just mentioned how competitive the league is. I think there's 4 points separating 8th and 19th. It's a really, really tight, competitive league this season, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it's like that for a lot of the leagues. I think a point here, a point there makes a lot of difference to you. If you can get yourselves on a run. So, some strange results, they'll kick up all over the place, and we just want to focus on what we're doing and keep concentrating on what we're doing, and inch by inch just keep moving forward, really.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.